Pāṇini's Ashtadhyayi has 4,000 sutras, fewer than 8,000 words. This tiny book does not show a derivation of a single word, yet it provides the rules to derive millions of words. How is it possible? Two mechanisms make this possible. Anuvritti, the silent flow of words across the sutras, and Adhikara, the domain rule that governs entire chapters. Let's understand Pāṇini's Anuvritti scheme through the most important prakarana of Ashtadhyayi, the Lopa Prakarana. Take Sutra 133, Halantyam. Its full meaning is, in Upadesha, the final consonant is it, or we can say, Upadeshe Antyam Hal it bhavati or it syat. Pāṇini in this entire Shastra never used any Kriyapada. By not adding a Kriyapada after every sutra, he already saved at least 4,000 Kriyapadas in his book. In our example, sutra has only two padas, Antyam Hal, but the expansion of the meaning comes Upadeshe Antyam Hal Itsyat, so it's about 5 words. So where did the remaining 3 words come? They flow silently from the sutra above, that is Upadeshe Janunaseka It. This is how Pāṇini used words very economically to make his treatise very small that even an 8 to 10-year-old can memorize the entire Shastra. Today we make those invisible threads visible. This is the Lopa Prakarana, 8 sutras, and we are going to watch every word flow. Here are the 8 sutras of Lopa Prakarana, starting from 132 through 139. They answer 2 questions. First, which sounds in Pāṇini's grammars are it markers, special markers used and then dropped to serve a specific purpose? Second, what happens to them? Let us go through each sutra one by one and watch the Anuvritti threads build. First sutra, Upadeshe Janunasaka It. Upadesha, whatever Pāṇini uttered for the first time, is called Upadesha. Adyo Charanam, first utterance by Maharshi Pāṇini, which includes Ashtadhyayi Sutra Patha, Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha, Unadikosha, Linganushashanam, and Pāṇini Shiksha. Upadeshe Saptami Vibhakti Ekavachanam, denoting in something. In these books that I mentioned in are considered Upadesha. What is it? There's Anunasika Ach. Anunasika means something that is uttered with the half throat and half nose. For example, if you have to say these sounds, they come from mouth and nose together. Those sounds, Pāṇini labeled it as it. Upadesha and it, these two are the foundation. They flow from this sutra invisibly into every sutra that follows. Halantyam, Antyam Hal, final consonant. Just 2 words in the sutra itself. But watch from Sutra 132, 2 words arrive via Anuvritti, Upadeshe and It. They travel here, assembling the full meaning. In Upadesha, the final consonant is It. 2 words carry in 2 words of the sutra, one complete rule. Next sutra is Na Vibhaktau Tusmaha. So here, the context we are talking about is Antyam Hal from the above sutra. See how Pāṇini cleverly saved words by not bringing Antyam Hal into this sutra, because it has to be understood that the subject matter of discussion is the last Hal and what happens to it. So here he's just minimizing that, saying this applies broadly to every part of it, every last consonant, but that's not the intention. What he wants to prevent is if the last hell has tavarga, ta, tha, da, dha, na, or if it is sakara and makara, is it like all of these? No. So he added an adjective saying it has to be a part of vibhakti. What is vibhakti? We will learn it later. But if it is part of a vibhakti and if it is these letters, what are they? Ta, tha, da, dha, na, sakara and makara, then this rule does not apply. Next sutra is Adir Nitudavaha. The Antya part is concluded with the above 2 sutras. Now he is moving to the Adi. And the first condition he defined is if in this Upadesha anything that is beginning with ni, tu, and do, then those get a name called it. From this sutra, Adi will flow into the next 3 sutras. This is the only sutra that does the it sangya of two letters at once. Generally, the two letters that becomes it only is available in dhatus, special dhatus like dukri karne, ikshvida, tuvepri, tuoshvi. In the next sutra, shapratyayasya, here upadesha, adi, it, these are coming, and he introduced a new term, pratyayasya. So adi, he wants to limit the range of adi, not applicable everywhere. He's saying if it is a pratyasya adi, then he's saying shaha. Shakara becomes the it. Again, he introduced a new variable pratyaya here, but he wants to limit the adi's range. So let's see how the next two sutras he talks about. So next sutra is Chutu. Here, Pratyasya is going to continue from above. Upadesha and It, they will also continue. And Adi is coming because the Pratyasya Adi, we have to look this Chu and Tu, which is the acronym that Pāṇini created. Chu being Cha Cha Ja Jha Nya and Tu being Ta Tha Da Dha Na. And for these, if they are in the beginning of the Pratyaya, they also get the It Sangya. Next sutra is Lashakvat Adhite. If you break it, it becomes La Sha Ku Atadhite. The anuvritis are Upadeshe. It is also coming from 132. Pratyasya is coming from the sutra Shapratyasya, and Adi is coming from Adingetudavaha. With this entire thing, this is how the meaning is derived. Upadeshe atadhite pratyasya adihi la shaku itsangekah bhavati. Atadhite. So pratyasya, the sutra above picked up all the pratyas, but Panini want to again limit the scope of it. So using not saying anything explicitly, just saying la shaku atadhite, he is limiting the scope using this sutra, saying if it is a pratyaya and it is not a tadhita pratyaya, then the range is limited. Saying it is a lakara, shakara, and kavarga. Ku being, again, he used another acronym here to save number of letters. Ku being ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. These also get the sangya called it. So up till here, Paණini has been saying this is it, at the beginning is it, at the end, if it's a pratyaya, then certain kinds of beginnings of the pratyayas are it, and all that. He built up all these its, and now he wants to define what action needs to be taken if something is defined as it. And the sutra for that is Tasya Lopaha. So he lumped all the it karyas in one place and gave a one mandate saying whatever I named this in this shastra as it gets lopa. But wait, Panini never described what is a lopa in these eight sutras. How do we know what is meant by lopa? This is where beauty of Panini shines. He treated these rules with the variables, names, constants, and everything throughout the meta rules that he created. So, like in the modern equivalent of creating a global variable and using it everywhere, Panini defined a sutra called Adarshanam Lopaha in first chapter, first pada, 60th sutra called Adarshanam Lopaha. So, what is Adarshanam? Adarshanam is something was there and it's not there anymore. For example, a pot was there, it's broken, it's thrown, in its place there is emptiness. That is Adarshanam. A person was there, but he's no more. Then the place, the emptiness is Adarshanam. So same concept applies the Adarshanam in the Pāṇiniyan grammar as well. Let's see with some examples. Shap, a Vikaran Pratyaya, is made out of Shakara, Akara, Pakara. Varnat Karaha. Whenever you have to say only a single Varna that does not have a Ach associated with it, you always add Kara. If you say Sha, in Sanskritam it will be understood as it's two letters, Shakara and Akara. Shakara gets its Sangya by Lashakvat Adhite and Pakara gets its Sangya Halantyam. Another example is Lat, Vartamane Lat. But these days it's not available in the print, but it has to be understood through the traditional teaching. Panini initially pronounced it as instead of Lat, he said as Lat. He nasalized the Akara part of the Lat. So Lat is broken down as La, and T. The gets the It Sangya based on Upadeshe Janunasaka It. and Takara gets its Sangya with Halantyam. The last example, Dukri Karane, to make, that is the meaning. And the words like Karoti, Kurutaha, these are all derived from the same dhatu. When you break it down, it becomes do, kru, and e. So do gets its sangya using adir nitudavaha, and e gets its sangya using halantyam. So what is left after the tasilopaha is the kru, is the main dhatu, the refined dhatu. This is how Anvritti usage compressed the entire Shastra to a small 84-page book of 4 by 6 inches. The great efficiency of Paṇini's grammar is the economy of the words. He utters it only once, and then invisibly the letters flow from one sutra to another so that he doesn't have to repeat the same word and to convey the same meaning. Once the student learns to see these invisible threads, to feel where a word comes from and where it flows, then he learns to grasp the living heart of the Ashtadhyayi. This is not a rote memorization. This is understanding, and this elevates a student's thinking to a much higher plane than just a rote memorization to get through the exams. Namah Pāṇinīyam.